Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We are pulling directly from the latest publication by HastingsNow.com to bring you your Hastings, Minnesota weather, plus a really fun on-the-state look back for Friday, July 10th, 2026. We've got a pretty fantastic blend today of hyper-local weather data for your weekend prep, alongside some genuinely fascinating historical milestones to cover. So let's just dive right in and see what this beautiful Friday has in store for us. Okay, let's kick things off with this one. Absolutely gorgeous number, 81. If you were hoping for one of those easygoing, totally classic Hastings summer days, well, you are in luck. 81 degrees Fahrenheit is our expected high for today. It's exactly the kind of temperature that just begs you to get outside and enjoy the town, you know? It's warm enough to feel like true summer, but not so sweltering that you're going to want to hide indoors hugging your AC unit all afternoon. Let's break down the rest of the daily metrics here. Alongside that perfect 81-degree high, we're looking at a super comfortable low of around 65 degrees as we head into Friday night. And looking at precipitation, 0. Not a drop of rain in today's forecast. We'll have really calm winds early on, which will eventually shift to this nice, gentle south breeze at about 5 miles per hour. Oh, and honestly, the best news on the board? There are absolutely no active weather alerts or hazards for Hastings today. Smooth sailing all the way. So how do we actually translate all those numbers into your Friday? Well, here is your Friday action plan. You're definitely going to want to grab your sunglasses for the afternoon, because once the morning clears up, we're expecting just a ton of sunshine. Now, if you're an early riser, throwing on a light layer is a really smart move, because that morning air might still have a tiny bit of a chill to it. Overall, though, conditions today are just highly favorable for patios, hitting the parks, running your errands, or maybe catching some youth sports. And like we just saw, you can completely ditch the rain gear today. Now, there is one teeny tiny caveat for the early birds out there, and the folks over at Hastings Now had a pretty hilarious piece of advice for it. Don't file a missing bridge report. Because of the conditions, we might see a little patchy fog around Hastings before 7 a.m. today, especially if you live in those low-lying areas or down near the river. So the fog might briefly hide the Hastings Bridge. But don't panic. The sun is going to burn that right off and give us our bridge back by 7 a.m., opening the door to those mostly sunny skies. All right, so the big takeaway is that your present-day Friday is looking pretty spectacular. But, it kind of begs a fascinating question. What about past July 10ths? Like, what was happening on this exact date, years or even decades, before we were planning our Friday evening walks down at Levy Park? Let's crack open a little time capsule for this date and connect with some history. We are going to take a really cool journey today that moves from the micro to the macro. From our local waters right here in Minnesota, back to a huge national milestone in 1890, and then literally rocketing into space in 1962. 3 totally different, truly remarkable events that all share this exact same date on the calendar. Let's start with our own state history. The year is 1946, and it marks the kickoff of the incredibly ambitious Paul Bunyan Canoe Derby. Picture this. On this date, 22 teams set off on a grueling 450-mile race all the way from Bemidji down to Minneapolis, navigating the intricate stages of Minnesota's waterways. As the source material jokingly points out, this perfectly captures that slightly crazy spirit of Minnesotans, who apparently never looked at the mighty Mississippi River and thought, yeah, that seems far enough. I mean, it took just immense physical endurance to paddle those canoes across the entire state for the Minneapolis Aquatennial celebrations. It's just an awesome piece of local heritage to think about if you're strolling near the river in Hastings tonight. Okay, now let's zoom out from Minnesota and travel a bit further back in time to 1890. On July 10th of that year, Wyoming was officially admitted to the Union, officially becoming the 44th state. But here's the thing, this wasn't just some standard bureaucratic paperwork. This set a massive precedent for civil rights. Wyoming entered the Union with women's voting rights fully preserved, making it the very first state to officially guarantee women the right to vote. The territory's leaders actually insisted, against some really significant pushback from Washington, that they would absolutely not surrender women's suffrage as a condition of joining the United States. They held the line, and on this exact date in 1890, they made history. Finally, we are zooming all the way out, beyond our state, beyond our country, and right up into orbit. The date is July 10, 1962, and from the launch pads of Cape Canaveral, Telstar 1 blasts into space. Now sure, it might look a little primitive compared to the tech in our pockets today, but Telstar 1 fundamentally altered human technology. It wasn't just a hunk of metal floating up there, it was the world's very first active communications satellite. By definition, an active communications satellite doesn't just passively reflect signals, it's actually capable of receiving them, amplifying them, and then transmitting them back down to Earth. Because of this exact tech, Telstar 1 was able to relay the first ever television signals across the Atlantic Ocean, bridging Europe and North America for the very first time. When you contrast these two eras, it really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? Back in 1962, it took an incredibly complex, government-backed scientific mission just to send one grainy black and white TV signal between two continents. And today, in 2026, global live streams, high-def video calls, instant digital connections, that's just an ordinary Tuesday for us here in Hastings. Telstar 1 literally gave humanity its very first glimpse of this hyper-connected world that we completely take for granted today. So from 450-mile canoe derbies to pioneering voting rights to the absolute dawn of global satellite communication, July 10th has definitely seen its fair share of history. But let's bring it all the way back home to today. As we wrap up this explainer, remember your action items. Get out there and enjoy that 81-degree afternoon. And just a quick reminder, summer weather can always shift quickly, so if you happen to see some clouds rolling in, just do a quick check of the official radar for any pop-up summer storms before you head out. And of course, make sure to check back with Hastings Down tomorrow for your next local forecast and time capsule. We've looked at the incredible things that happened on this day in 1890, 1946, and 1962. But now it's July 10th, 2026. The morning fog is clearing, the weather is absolute perfection, and the day is entirely yours. So I'm going to leave you with this one question to ponder as you step out your front door. What history will you make in Hastings today? Have a fantastic Friday, everyone, and keep learning.